Well, how y'all doing? We've been doing a few videos on preparing to build a shed or something this spring. I've talked to you about how to calculate concrete, how to order how much concrete you need, how to calculate cubic feet and cubic yards. We've talked about how to figure roofing materials, shingles. We've talked about how to read a ruler, how to read a tape measure. But one thing I haven't spoken to you about, we've talked about how to level posts. But one thing I haven't talked to you about is how to lay out the floor joists, the wall studs, and the rafters on a shed or house that you might build. And what I'd like to do today is I would just like to do a real simple layout that will show you an example of everything I'm talking about. And from this example, you could scale up as big as you wanted to. You could scale up from, I'm gonna draw us a 8-foot by 12-foot shed, and I'm gonna pretend that it's actually a house. Even though it's gonna be a small one, we're gonna build a house. And I will tell you this, that even though I like doing it cheap, when I build something, I build it to last. If I'm gonna build me a shed, it's not gonna be 2 foot on center. I'm gonna make it 16 inches on center. And if it's a building that I think might have a possibility of needing heat and insulation, then I'm going to frame them walls in 2x6s, not 2x4s. It's not that much difference in money, but oh my God, it makes a world of difference when it comes time to try to heat and cool that thing, okay? So, without further ado, let's talk about how to lay out our floor joist, our wall studs, and our rafters. Today's video, I'm not going to even talk about doors and windows. I don't want to confuse you. We can do that at another time. Okay. And we are going to assume, I know assume makes an ass out of you and me, but we're going to assume one thing. And we're going to assume that you're going to put some type of sheathing over the floor, like 4 foot by 8 foot plywood or OSB or something like that, okay? That's the assumption in this example, is that you're using 4 foot by 8 foot sheathing on your floors, maybe even on your walls, on your roof, okay? So that's where we're going to base this. You'll find that the reason that so many buildings are framed on 16-inch centers and on 24-inch centers is because of our building materials being 4 foot wide. That's how the studs work out. If you have a board that's 4 foot wide and you want to frame this on 2 foot centers, then you've got a wall stud here or floor joist, and you got one here centered over the 24-inch mark, and then you've got one over here where the 4 foot piece comes halfway onto there, because you're going to put another one on it as you move on out. If you're going to do 16-inch on center, then you're going to have one at 16, one at 32, and one at 48, okay? And then you're much stronger than just going 2 foot on center, because you've got that extra stud, extra rafter, extra floor joist every 4 feet. So the reason I wanted to show you how to lay this out is in our typical shed building, this whole shed for the backyard, this is not critical at all. But if you apply this principle, it don't cost any extra money. But if you get in a habit of doing this, it's going to become automatic. And the habit I want you to get used to is the whole idea behind a good strong building is the weight of that roof needs to be transferred all the way to the ground, okay? And we want it to be done as strong as possible. We don't want any weak points in our construction. And just for the sake of argument, we'll just pretend that we've got a concrete block foundation underneath this building so that we're going all the way down to good concrete and good support all the way around. Like I say, a shed might just be up on pillars or on 6x6 posts laying flat or something. All right? But, again, here we go. Now, I will tell you that a 4 foot by 8 foot sheet of material, if you measure it, it's not 4 feet. Sons of bitches. They have started squeezing it down. It's 47 inches and some odd fraction. It's a little bit shy of 48 inches. And some people say, well, that's so it can expand and contract. Screw that. When I build it, I want to build it tight. And if you've got that daggum material secured every 16 inches, you ain't going to get a bunch of swelling. Now, if you've just got it there, you know, nailed on the edges and maybe one right down the middle, yeah, it might expand a little bit. But you're not going to get that expansion 16 inch on center. I damn well have never seen where you had a problem where the pieces of plywood met if it was securely attached. Okay, well, let's talk about laying out our floor. That's the first thing we're going to do. And we're going to remember we're building an 8 by 12. So my floor is going to be, we're looking at the long side because we're going to have our rafters running, let's see, let me draw it for you. We're going to have our building like this. It's going to be 8 foot here and it's going to be 12 foot this way. Alright? So what that means is my rafters or my trusses are going to be laying right on top of the walls. My 12-foot wall. Alright? Okay. So over here we got 0. And then over here at 12 foot we've got 144 inches. And what we've got to do is we've got to lay out our floor joists to where our sheathing will lay right on top of it just as pretty as you please. Now, for the sake of argument, I'm going to pretend that my 4 foot by 8 foot material is exactly 4 foot by 8 foot. What I've gotten a habit of doing, if I'm going to be doing a big long one, is I'll actually figure out what that difference in little fraction is, and I might scoot a floor joist over a little bit, or I might make this 12-foot building 3/8 of an inch shorter or something, okay? Just to make up for that. But anyway, we're going to be over here. We're going to be at 4 foot, and we're going to be at 8 foot, and we're going to be at 12 foot. And I'm standing right here in front of these lights, and my dog is laying right there in front of me farting. God, smell like pinto beans. Y'all ain't had no pinto beans, have you? Oh, oh God almighty damn. Oh, me. Okay. Okay, here we are. We're at 4 foot, we're at 8 foot, over here's 12 foot. And we know that we're going to have us, if we're going to look at it like this right here, and we're laying this out every 16 inch on center. Here's the floor joist I'm drawing, by the way. This is the floor. If I want to get pretty with it, I can do it like this right here. But anyway, this is at 0, this is at the beginning, this is at 16, this is at 32, this is at 48 on your measuring tape. You make you a mark. And you just keep on going every 16 inches. 64, 80, 96, 112. 112 and 16 is what? 100 and you want somebody to help me out? 128, 16, yeah. Okay. So you're going to make you a mark on your piece of wood right here that you're going to nail into. So you're going to drive nails into it like this right here, into them floor joists. Okay. Well, that's pretty simple, you say. All right, well, yeah, I got that. That's easy enough. And remember, you've got that plate on the back side there too. So when you make these marks, when you're laying this out, let's pretend we're looking on top of the. We're going to call these. This is a shed. We're going to say that's a 2x6, and that them floor joists are just 2x6s. They're not 2x8s or 2x10s. But anyway, if we're looking at the top of them, let's put two of them together. Okay. Put two of them together, just like that. We're looking at the top now, top edge. And when we start marking them, we're going to take our framing square. We're going to mark across both of them at the same time, because we're going to take this one right here, and it's going to go back yonder. Okay, and because we marked them both at the same time, we're going to be perfect, because we're going to put this floor joist right here. It's going to be dead center. We're going to center it on that first mark. All right. A blow-up view of that is, here's my mark, and then I'm going to set that floor joist just like that. It's the top view. So that mark is right in between it, right in the center of that right there. So when I drive my nails or screws, there I am. Over here, I'm lined up with the edge. I get over here, let's see, this is my 32. We're on the center of that one. We get over here at 48. We're on the center of it too. And why am I on the center? Because I got another board here. I have another piece of sheathing that's got to lay on this. So when I go from 0 to 48 and I lay my piece of plywood on there, it only goes halfway on that one, because and I nail it right here. That leaves me room for this other piece of sheathing to lay right there and get nailed on. Well, that's pretty simple. Those of you that have done it before, it's no big deal. But here's the part I want to share with you that people fail to do. I see it all the time, and it sticks out like a sore thumb, and you look at it and you say, that's amateurish. That's an amateur doing that. Not that it matters, but what I'm going to show you is, when somebody looks at your job, they're going to say a professional did that. Man, that looks good. Right? That's what we want them to say. We want them to say, man, your work looks good. No wonder you charge more than the other guys. You're worth it. Okay? Well, here's what I want you to learn to do. When you do your wall, you want that wall to sit on that floor, and you want them wall studs to sit directly over your floor joist. Okay? Directly over them. And the reason we do that is the weight up here is being transferred right to the strongest point. You don't want it out here between these floor joists. You want it right on top, because down here's where our foundation is that's supporting all this, okay? So, you make sure that these wall studs are right over them floor joists, and that's going to make it strong. Now, if you're going to frame it on 2-foot centers, it's really important, because you sure don't want the weight to be between, you know, in the middle of a 2-foot space. All right. So if you'll just lay out that bottom plate and that top plate exactly the way you did that header plate down here, I can't think what that's called, but anyway, you lay it out just like you did on this board right here, and you get them 2x4s perfect, then you got something going. Now, the third and final point I want to make is you're going to do the exact same thing with your trusses. When you set them trusses up there, you're going to put them right over those vertical 2x4s or 2x6s. You'll already be laid out. The neat thing about it is you don't have to measure, because you've already got it lined up. You know, as long as you're doing 16-inch on center up here, you're doing the same down here. But make sure you're laying out from the same direction. Here I started on the left. You'll make sure you do the same thing. But that makes it easy. You go to set that truss up there, boom, just set it right above that 2x4, and your 16-inch on center, or your 2-foot on center. You will need a spacer board or something up here at the top, you know, to measure in between here, to make sure, you know, you got them even this way. But here is where you're going to really show your stuff. You're going to show that you know what the hell you're talking about, because that truss or that rafter is right above that wall stud, and that wall stud is right above that floor joist, and that's going to make you a good looking building. Well, folks, I appreciate you sticking through all this with me. I love to share information. If there's something particular you'd like to know, holler at me. Laying out doors and windows could be another video. I don't want to bore you, make this one too long. Y'all have a wonderful day and a better tomorrow. Bye.